All right, in our last video, we got in the negative space around the head and the hair, the shoulders, and then optional is you might have sketched in the basic outline of kind of the face where it meets the hairline or part of the neck or clothing. Now, next we're gonna actually start the contour part of our drawing, but another optional step is if you think it would be helpful for you, you can put in some guideline marks of where the basic facial features go too. Just as reminders as you do your contour drawing to keep things in about the right place. So I'm gonna start with the eyes. I noticed that they start kind of where this little indent is right here. I see one eye goes about here. The other eye goes about there. I'm again measuring. This eye goes a little past that edge of the grid right there. So again, I think my eyes, maybe this one's not quite as far, but I think they're gonna be about kind of that shape. And I see my eyebrows are kind of right there. I see my mouth comes down near the bottom of this and it's kind of at an angle. I can really even sight the angle using my pencil. What angle is the center line of that mouth at? I'm kind of putting in a light guideline there. What angle is the bottom of the nose at? I think it's kind of like this. All right, so there's just some basic marks showing me where's the mouth, the eyes, and the nose. And you would definitely, if you include these at all, which is up to you, make sure you do them really light. If they get darker than you mean them to, you can kind of go in and lighten them up. But again, it's just lines showing you roughly where the different facial features are going to be drawn in. So you can use it to help you later. All right, so now I'm going to actually start with the contour. And I'm going to choose one of the eyes to start with. I really recommend starting with an eye and working your way out from there. And that's because the eyes of a portrait are where the viewer is going to always tend to look first. They're always going to look at the eyes. And so you want to make sure that those are drawn kind of accurately first and that everything else is based around them. So let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to start with this eye here. Now this is where you really need to think about using your right brain to draw what you actually see. So I'm going to draw this black mark. And I see it comes up around like this and around right here. It comes up and becomes part of the eyebrow. So I'm not trying to think too much. What is this? Is this the eyelid? Is this the eyebrow? Is this part of the eye? I'm just seeing it as a dark mark. So here it was there. I'm going to come back around here. It's going to become this part of the eye here. And you'll find that these might look weird right now, these line drawings, contour drawings that you're going to start doing. But as you go, and especially once you get in the color later, when we go back with watercolor, it's going to look so much more accurate. So you just have to trust that if it doesn't look like a face at first, that it's going to come together later. And when I grade you, I'm not grading you on, do these look perfect? Are the proportions exactly right? Anything like that. I'm just grading you on, did I really see you followed the rules of contour? Did you use a continuous line? Did you draw what you actually saw? You didn't start simplifying and inventing eyelashes or inventing that you could see the round part of the eye over here. You drew what you saw. So, where was I? I'm right here on this edge of dark gray, and at this point you can kind of follow where your eye naturally goes, just like when you're doing a contour drawing of a hand. Now you'll notice these have lots of little tiny bumps. You don't need to draw in every bump, right? You can kind of, if it helps you, you could even draw over this first and go over all the outlines with your pencil. That could be an easier step if you're struggling. It'll help you see then where are the lines that you're going to draw in here. And when you go over the lines, if you do this, you don't need to go over every single tiny bump. You can simplify it to a shape like that, right? And then I'll draw this shape in here to show you. Okay, so let me keep going here with the drawing a little bit. And sometimes you're like, was I? What was this shape over here? Oh yes, this was my black shape. So I'm going to go back and draw in some of the dark gray around it. And it's very common as you're doing these for things to get a little too big or a little too small. So you're going to have to use your judgment. If you notice that something got too big or too small, if it's just a little bit off, you can probably leave it, especially if you've already done a lot of the details around it. But if it's really off, I do encourage you to go back and change it so that you don't get frustrated later. As I get to the nose down here, I can erase these lines. It was just to make sure that I knew my nose was in the right place. And again, if you get a little bit lost, it's not the end of the world. You can try to get it at least close. You can pick up where you left off. You can always ask Miss G for help to get you back on track. But remember, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking at, did you do a contour drawing with one continuous line? You weren't being super sketchy and lifting your pencil, and you weren't inventing things that aren't there. So if you want to keep watching at this point, I'm just going to continue with my drawing. But if this is making sense, you don't need to watch the entire rest of my demonstration. You could totally get started on your own drawing. But I'll just draw a little bit more here just so you can see more and more how it starts coming together. Now, I actually realize right now, this part of the mouth, it's almost touching my line over here. So even I realize, oh, I did something a little bit off, so I'm gonna fix it. But if you notice that too late and it needed to be a little bit scooted over, again, not the end of the world. You're just doing the best you can. So I noticed my mouth needs to start about here. Here's the black shape that's kind of the center of my mouth there. Here's this gray shape around it. Here's this gray shape down here. I'm not worrying about what is this part of the lip or the chin or what. I'm going to trust that when I get it all in, it's going to come together and it's going to look accurate. Well, look, go back down here a little bit first. So I think that's all I'll do for now, but you can see that it's really starting to come together, and you also have to trust, and I can even demonstrate it here for you. You're not going to do this step, okay? You are not shading anything in. But you can see that if I start shading it in, it starts to look a little bit more eye-like. And once you get everything in dark, it's really going to come together more. So this is just a preview to show you. It's going to start looking more right once you start getting some of your shading in. You can see that's starting to look a little bit more like her eye. So you just have to trust that it's going to come together. I'll show you with the mouth too. Once I get this dark part in and a little shading there, it's going to start looking more mouth-like. But we're going to be doing this later at the end with watercolor. So do not add any shading to your actual drawing. This is just for demonstration purposes of how much more accurate it's going to start looking. So with that, good luck, and please let me know if you have any questions.